Bow with me, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, let's thank you for this day that we can come together and be about your work, the Cherokee people. Look over the soldiers overseas and their families here at home, that they might all come back safely. Please give your heart out to the families that are hurting from some recent Cherokee deaths and tragedies, and guide and direct each and every one here, that we might do our very best to do your work. Look over each and every one of us and forgive us where we fail. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Tara Kellen Watts. Bill Anglin.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Rayleigh. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr. Tina Glory Jordan. Present. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton. We do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. So I would entertain a motion to approve the June 24th regular session, the July 12th donations and contributions subcommittee, and the July 13th tax subcommittee. Approve of their minutes. Do we hear a motion for their approval?
Move for approval.
Second motion for comment.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Next we have our reports.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to amend the agenda to include a resolution providing for the donation of surplus office equipment to the Weber Falls Historical Society. You have a copy in your hand, and you might add an R to that historical spelling.
Okay. So that would be item 2 under new business.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. A motion has been made and seconded to amend the agenda to include a resolution providing for donation of surplus office equipment to the Weber Falls Historical Society Museum. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Okay. Next are our reports, our financial report and treasury report. Ms. Catcher.
Good afternoon, council members.
Good afternoon.
You have a written report from me. I had a couple of things to add to that. The FY11 budgets will be delivered tomorrow. Also, I've been working with Doug and the attorneys and the banks for like the last 8 months, and we believe the Bonita loan will close tomorrow. So I will send a note to you after we close, and I know what the final interest rate will be, but should be a pretty good loan once we get this finished.
Yep. Are there any questions for Ms. Catcher? We look forward to getting the budget for next year.
Thank you.
Ms. Fishinghawk.
What y'all changed the strategic and budgeting committee's name to? That's what we discussed last month.
We haven't made any formal change to the committee name. I've internally started calling them group. I'll go back and ask if anybody's got a heartburn with making it official strategic budget group instead of committee to avoid any confusion.
I had another question. I asked about posting the whole position, salaries, everything like that on the website. And I know Bill John had a piece of legislation that he needs to change for next month. And I wish, Bill John, is that going to be enacted? You want it passed for this coming year's budget in September?
We can.
Okay.
If I may, as we talked last month, what we intend to do after the budget hearings is post the full budget out on the website, just like we do our annual report, our comprehensive annual financial report. And it will have all the detail that's in the book, which includes every position and salary. It won't have employee names, but it'll have the position and salary.
Okay, so you go down the line item?
If that's what we decide we want to do. I mean, what's in the book now is summary by group, by funding source. We can publish the entire budget if that's what we...
I want to request and ask that we put it so everything is transparent down to the line item for our people to see.
and we can do that. We appropriate the dollars by accounting unit. That's why when we send the budgets over to you, most of our reports are run off the system, and it has a summary by major account, like salaries and fringe. But it is our intent to post that budget out there as soon as the hearings are over and we have a final budget. And I think as far as the government goes, we are very transparent in the information that we provide. Our annual report provides a lot of information about the nation's finances.
Is that all, Ms. Fisher-Hall?
Yeah.
Councilor Buzzer?
Callie, do we have any tentative dates on budget hearings?
No, I needed to get with the chair after this meeting and look at dates.
Actually, we have looked at dates already, and getting Wednesday
The 8th.
after the national holiday.
How many days? The 11th, 12th, and 13th.
We have scheduled
Wait.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
8th, 9th, and 10th. Right.
Hopefully, we won't need all 3 days.
I wasn't sure if that was final. I knew we had discussed it once before, but that we
Yes, Ms. Fisher-Hall?
How much was our total budget so far this year with all our changes and bring forwards and add tos?
off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah.
650 million.
About 650.
650 million after today,
Including transfer.
and we've got 3 days scheduled for it, but we're hoping we don't do 3 days.
Well, we shall see. What I was going to mention this later, what I would like to see happen, but unfortunately I won't be here for the August committee meetings, is for the 4 committees that will be meeting on the 16th and 17th to take a look at their budgets, at least briefly, to make themselves aware of what's going on next fiscal year for those budgets. And then when we get to the budget hearings, you'll be more informed for each of those areas.
But Doug will get to go through his whole
Yes.
review.
Yes, at the budget hearings. But he will not have enough time to do it before the committee meetings.
I'm going to attempt to. I don't know if I can get it ready in time for those committees over their jurisdictional areas that contain in the budget, but I'm going to do my best to try to get as much as my overview ready to go with Callie's divisional budgets as possible.
Yeah, because the budget is divided, it has an education, community service, resources, and health.
And those will be the 4 groups I'll target first, so I can try to get through all the analytical review portion before that I need.
Because there will be a lot of additional stuff that will not be in those 4. Right. Councilor Baker.
Yeah, is there a plan for a majority of the council to meet at Hard Rock or something to work the budget out before we get to see it?
Callie's done the budget already.
The budget will be delivered tomorrow.
Okay, but I'm talking about passing the budget. Is there, we're not going to have the same thing we had last year, are we?
I'm not sure I know what you're referring to.
Well, last year, you and several others met at the Hard Rock and went
Are
to
you mean-
Kelly and
No.
No,
Not that I'm aware.
I didn't meet
I was
with
not there.
anyone at the Hard Rock to
On the
go over a
budget, no.
budget.
oh, was it Melanie? I'm sorry, Melanie met with them.
Not on the budget that I'm aware.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Ms. Jordan.
Callie, you said the budget will be delivered tomorrow,
Yes,
so it'll come to the council house?
yes.
And all of us then can start looking at it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, Doug, your schedule is you were going to try to provide us, let me get my calendar back on here. You were going to try to provide us your analysis prior to the 16th and 17th?
Only for those groups
Okay.
that have jurisdiction within those standing committees.
And then we're going to talk about them a little bit in committee, and then we'll have our budget hearings. I just want to make sure I got all these dates down.
Yes.
We'll have our budget hearings. The actual hearings will be the 8th, 9th, and 10th. And we won't decide anything in those committees, right?
Hopefully
It'll
not.
just be talked about.
Yes.
And then we'll we'll still have our hearings and make our decisions then. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to, everyone wants to then be on top of the dates, August 16th and 17th, and September 8th, 9th, and 10th. And Doug, you'll give us all your information, hopefully in written form before this, enough before the 16th so that we can look at it on those four
I
areas.
can't promise how much in advance I'm going to have that. You may get it the day before, I don't know. But at
Okay.
least you'll have my analytical part of the budget review for those respective areas before you seat in those committees. And I think it will allow you at least an opportunity to get a cursory review. Obviously, these groups, sometimes we'll take an hour or two per group in a budget hearing, and your whole committee may only be 1 hour committee, and it's got 5 different, respective areas in it. But at least you'll, I think it's a good idea to at least get introduced to what does the 2011 funding look like and utilization that's being requested for those funds coming out of that committee's jurisdiction. I think that was Chairman Baker, don't need to put words in your mouth, I think that was his intent, is to try to get ahead of the budget hearings and introduce some of what 2011 looks like for these areas before we get into those hearings and help expedite the hearings along through that.
And I understand that we're not making a final decision on those budgets in any sort of committee meeting. That all decisions, final decisions regarding those budgets will be made 8th, 9th, and 10th of September.
Those standing committees have no jurisdiction over these budgets. The budget
And
goes to the
that's
ENA.
my belief too, but this is just by way of introduction, gathering all the paperwork, make sure we have everything, and then we can go forward and have some semblance of time to look at everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilor Coates.
As the chair of the Education Committee, I would just invite everybody here to prepare questions. I mean, I think that that's one thing that I've noticed, at least in the several times that I've been through budget hearings, is that we seem to have, as a group, quite a few detailed questions about the actual operations of each group, and that those kinds of questions perhaps could be addressed in these committee meetings, and that might reduce the amount of time that we spend during budget hearings if we had that kind of knowledge in advance. And so I would just invite people to use the time in the Education Committee for August for those kinds of questions.
Are these committee meetings that are an hour long, are we going to make them 2-3 hours long then? Or do you still want us to run through it in an hour?
That's up to the committee chairs.
Because like Harley's, we have enough questions in his community services meeting to fill the meeting without discussing the budget. We always run over in yours.
That's up to the chair. You can spend 5 minutes on it and say, okay, this is the budget, or you can spend as much time as you want. That's up to the chair. Councilor Vice.
Shelley or Doug, are you going to mail the budgets out to us tomorrow? Are you going to mail the budgets to us tomorrow, or do we need to make another trip down and pick them up?
No.
Would you
We're-
have-
We'll have to mail them.
We'll have to, we'll deliver them as soon as we can in the morning, but they were still putting the books together this afternoon, and we're burning CDs too, so maybe that'll get to you quicker.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes.
So just to clarify, I thought that we were trying to save paper and the bulk and everything, and they were searchable then. So you're going to send us the CD, but the only book, there's a summary book we get from you, and then there's the
There's a book for me. Yeah,
book, smaller analysis book from you, and that should be all we should expect, correct?
yeah, no big blue.
Unless we were to ask, for whatever reason, as individuals for the big blue binder.
Well, what
that
we are-
traditionally have gotten.
It's not as big as it has been in the past. The book has all of the reports, and then there's a CD with the detailed, and also in the book is the payroll spreadsheets that list the positions and salaries and department and all that. And then the CD has the budget down to the account number. So there's two different things. The book is more of a summary level.
But we should expect that then by Monday in the mail. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your time.
Councilor Thornton.
Will the general fund budgets be separated from the federal budget or the other budgets? Mainly federal.
There are reports that show you, here's tribal funds, we have a lot of different funding sources because we account for it usually by like Department of Education, IHS, DOI. So yes, that information is there by tribally funded versus all the other funding sources.
You can't separate it out.
It is separated.
Okay.
I mean, there's reports that show individual.
Individual. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Kelly, will the CD contain information that we will not have in written form?
Yes, because that will have all the line item details
That's
for
like the book.
every accounting unit.
So
And
that is the book we've received.
right, that's the big, huge book that you used to receive is now on CD.
Well, I'm a very visual person. And what I do is I like to take the book that you've been giving us and tab it so that when I have questions, I can go right to the tab. I don't bring my computer in the committee room because I like to listen to what y'all are saying. And I found that I can't listen and look at the computer too. Maybe a lot of people can. I don't know. Maybe all of you can. But is there any way that I can get the whole thing printed out? Otherwise, we're going to have to ask these girls out here to print the whole thing. I'm sure we could loan you some reams of paper if that becomes necessary. If there's any way possible.
Well, and yeah, and that's not a problem. We'd be happy to accommodate that. But don't misunderstand me. In the book that we're going to bring over, there are reports that are going to be tabbed by health, education, and there's a lot of information in those reports. They're generated off the system.
But if I was hearing you right, where it's peeled back,
Peeled
it's
back.
on the CD.
Peeled down to the account number level. For example, if I want to know what salaries and wages is budgeted for the treasurer's department, you would need to go to the CD.
Would there be any way, and again, maybe I'm the only one out of 17 that has that problem, but it's a lot easier for me to read it on a piece of paper than it is to see it on that screen.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. We'll be happy to print those out. It may take us a few hours in the morning, but
It would certainly be appreciated from me because it assists me.
so
in
basically
having
what's
it in
on
written form.
what's on the CD, you would like a printout of that rather than a CD. Okay.
Well, I like both.
Oh, well, yeah, you can have both.
I can have both.
Yeah.
But
are there any others who would like
and
to
I
hard
would
copy?
I would ask, is there anybody else that feels that way? I just do a lot better if I see it right here.
So,
So hold up your hands if you want a full copy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, how about 9?
Well, as chair, I guess I should have one.
How about if I just print
Right,
17?
you may as well.
So much for saving the trees.
Councilor Fishy-Hawk.
Yeah, Doug, would you do me a favor before we start going with the budget? Would you please, because I've requested this several times and I haven't got it yet. I want a copy that shows in spreadsheet form, gen fund dollars, federal dollars, broken out by unfilled positions. I want to know how much is tied up that we know we're not going to fill this year, but we're sandbagging is what I call it.
The payroll worksheet, there will be one of the electronic files on that CD-ROM. I can either show you or I'll do it for you. It's real easy the way that they send that over to filter out all vacant positions that are contained in the budget.
And I might note that is something that Doug always includes in his report by
Department.
department. How many vacants, how many new, how many existing.
What I want to know is last year, this past year, the year we're in now, how much federal dollars we didn't spend because we didn't hire people, how many gen fund dollars. Matter of fact, I think I want it for the last 3 years I've been on council, just for good measure, because I've been hollering about this for 3 years. The other question is, and I don't know where to bring this up is, Jack, but it's under your committee, is, now that the elections are over this first time, I would also like a copy, and I'm not sure if it needs to be asked of you or them, of all the people that did not go into a runoff, that we give money to out of the PAC committees.
Oh, you're talking about the PAC subcommittee. Okay.
And I'd like that before next committee.
Can you get that for us?
Who
Kelly?
received PAC funds and are not in
They need to
a,
get that from
Didn't make it to
general.
all of us, they lost.
That lost? The ones that we donated funds to, but they didn't win their election.
Yes. I'm one of the people that I'd rather give at the end when we know who the winner is.
Councilor Jordan.
I'm not sure who I need to direct this question to, but is it possible to somehow, within these books that the two of you are going to give us, identify those vacant positions that only would have dealt with gen fund money?
sure.
Easy.
And is there and again, I don't know who I'm directing this to.
That's one of the reports that in 2009 budget hearings for FY09, and then again last year for FY10. That was some of those reports where I was giving you salary positions and the vacant positions, and I would give it to you by here's discretionary, or here's gen fund, tribally funded, and here's all the discretionary funds, all the positions. Now here's all of them that are vacant. You recall some of those special reports I'd hand out because I didn't make the book with them the year before last, and we handed them out. And come to find out, those were some of the reports that we used in the hearings very frequently. Those were standard reports now.
If you could do that for us again, and Kelly, this may not even be a possibility, but if we could somehow put a numerical time that we started looking at filling those positions. I mean, how long has it been?
Yeah, that's the most difficult part of this. I mean, at any given point in time, I can say we have 12 vacant positions. And if there were only 12, it'd take, 15 minutes to see how long they'd been open. But especially in areas that have some high turnover or maybe a lot of vacancies like healthcare, when you've got, 1,200 employees there, that would take a long time. I'll think on it and see if I can
If there's
come up with a way.
that we could do that would
An
certainly be
automated
good
way would be
information.
nice, but right now it's just manual.
As you recall, in the hearings this last year, one of the significant budget increases in their indirect cost pool was for information systems. They had a several $100,000 increase specifically to implement a module upgrade of Lawson.
Right.
That upgrade was a position tracking capable
Maybe the
feature.
two of you all could utilize
Well, we
that.
didn't get that implemented.
Yeah.
And that would provide the capability on the IS side to generate the position tracking that actually would tell us how long has this position been budgeted, how long has it been vacant, what's the cost to it. This tracking module would give us an enormous amount, a wealth of information when it comes to labor-intensive costs that's going into our annual budget process. And I mean, I don't know all the reasons why we didn't get there this year, but I think we did get through a significant upgrade to our financial system. However, that aspect of the upgrade didn't happen.
Well, and if I could address that, that piece of the upgrade is in the works right now. Position control, HR group is working on that along with finance, and I don't know off the top of my head when that's going to be complete. But the reason, yes, it is in this year's budget, but the reason it was the last piece to implement is we had to do a major upgrade to a new version, a newer version, and then we also had to upgrade the security module. So things had to be done in a specific order before we could implement the position control, which is in process right now.
Kelly, could you maybe give us a follow-up
Yeah.
on a timetable on how long that will take?
I certainly will.
And then if you could look into some sort of manual system for what you can do for us for this year on those open positions and how long they've been out there. Obviously, if we're looking at a position that's been on the books for 3 years, and we keep carrying money over for it, it kind of makes me wonder, do we have a need for that position? Can't fill it in 3 years. Somebody else is probably doing the work, maybe we just need to leave things as they are and utilize the money somewhere else for the services of the people.
Counselor Sutton. Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Ketchum on her report today?
Mr. Chairman, regarding the item that Callie mentioned in her report earlier regarding the Bonita Clinic loan, and I know she's already reported to you their anticipated closing coming up very soon, tomorrow. I just wanted to go on record thanking Callie for allowing me to be involved in this. She's graciously allowed me to be involved in this since last November, and I think, and I know that I've kept you and Co-Chair Colin Watts and Speaker Fraley attempted to keep you all abreast of the progress along and kind of where we're ending up. I want to issue a very detailed memo to the council probably next week, explaining out what all has occurred through this process, and because we've introduced kind of a new facility into the Cherokee Nation that I think you guys are going to be very proud of, this credit facility that's going to be closed tomorrow. I think it's going to be something that's not only new to this type of a capital financing endeavor, but the way that she's brought in a certain hedge instrument that I'll explain in the memo. We're probably going to see one of the lowest cost of capital endeavors, certainly since I've been around. So anyway, you'll be getting a memo from me on this, and I just wanted to thank Callie for allowing me to help participate.
What Doug's trying to tell you is he owes me a steak dinner. I know, I think I owe him one. He helped a lot on the loan negotiations, and it's been a long process. I think we'll have a
We
good...
appreciate all your work on that, because it is saving us a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ms. Ketchum. Next is Cherokee Nation Businesses, Mr. Stewart.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, you have the report from us. We've tried to consolidate the information for you into one report in an operational highlight summary for each company. And then we've also added a little more detailed information in a management discussion report that looks like this. So I want to be sure that you all are getting this. It's intended to provide you a snapshot of revenue, expenses, and other pertinent information for each company, so that you can refer to that and ask questions about it if you have it. Also, we've issued a glossary of companies that we have with a description of those companies, who manages it, and so on. And I think we delivered that to council some time ago. I just want to be sure that you're aware that we have that. If you don't have it, we can get it to you, but that should help you go through all that.
Appreciate that. Councilor Sutton.
Yeah, when we get to the reporting, David, I was just wondering if you could just kind of highlight a couple of the performance year-to-date for Will Rogers Downs, and then the Travel Plaza and the Gift Shop. Just kind of highlight their performance today.
Well, Will Rogers had, it didn't have a very good month last month, but they were on a steady increase since we bought the property. And recently, we've had to negotiate additional races, the Blue Ribbon Down closing. The number of races that we have is a negotiated number. It's technically in the compact, but we haven't been running as many races, and now that Blue Ribbon is closed, we're having to run a few more. And that is costing us a little more money to do that. So I would say that if you look back at over time, it's been increasing, but I think it's going to be almost a break-even kind of investment.
That's what I was wondering, if the trend was to continue, or if,
I think
there. So I'm just curious as to
I think it's going to continue simply because we have to pay out so much of our revenue to the purse money. And whenever you pay 30 or 35% out off the top, it's really hard to make any money. But it is breaking even. It's providing good jobs, and we're improving the property all the time. We have the KOA out there now, and we're starting to improve some of the buildings. So I think it's good for the community. and a good asset for us, but it's not making a lot of money. But we didn't really expect it to make a lot.
Councilor Jordan.
David, would it be possible to provide us with this report a little bit quicker than we're getting it now, so that we can maybe look it over?
When did you receive the MD&A or the management discussion?
Today. I got it today.
But it was emailed out a week or so ago.
Yeah.
To all of us.
I thought we were trying to get that about
Shelley.
5 days beforehand.
Yeah, Shelley emailed it out last week,
Again,
I believe.
I'm a visual person,
Yeah?
so if there's some way we can get this in hard form from you.
Okay. Well, what we might do is we might email it to your office and then let you print it out. It's only 5 or 6 pages. Otherwise, we're going to be mailing. So can we accommodate, if we can accommodate that?
I'd actually rather have it from you all in the mail. Otherwise,
Really?
Shelley's going to have to mail it from here after she prints it and gets it. Because I think what's happening is it's in her box, isn't it?
Actually, I email it out to you and then I print it for the meeting.
If we could just get it from
Okay, I'll need to
you.
get your home, wherever you address you want us to mail it.
Yeah, Shelley's got all those.
Okay, we'll do whatever means you want. If you will send us the proper delivery point for everybody, if email's okay, tell us that. If it's not, then we will do whatever. We'll go ahead and email it as well, because if it gets hung up in the mail 2 or 3 days, you may not.
My problem is I can't print anything off at home right now.
Okay.
So I'm trying to read it off of the computer, and
Right.
I'd just rather have it in a...
We'll drop it in the mail. Just if you'll just email an address for us, we'll do that. Okay, so what I wanted to say was just that report. I'm going to go over it in summary, some of the highlights. There's a lot of detail in here that I don't think I want to go over again. Net income consolidated was about $7 million. It's about $500,000 over last month. In terms of gaming revenue, we saw a slight increase over last year, not much. It's holding. So we're seeing some fairly steady numbers in the gaming side. The subsidiary companies are profitable, except for the new security company, and it's just kicked off. It really has no business, but we've hired a CEO to start that. So I'm real pleased with the net income and the profitability of all of our subsidiaries. So if you look at your report, you'll see that they're profitable. In fact, they're doing very well. C&I is doing well. Year-to-date net income of about $900,000, up significantly from last year. We just started the shared service implementation from C&B into C&I. Now the HR, IT, and accounting are all reporting up to the C&B people, so that we're going to have some consistent policies and procedures. And so we're working with Brian and his management team to work within that. But I think all of the accounting, I think these are all good things for C&I, and it's just it's a a process we've been working on for months, and it's about to happen. So I think it's a good thing. We're right in the middle of the budgeting process for this year, and we've gone through a quite extensive process with the board and approvals, and we're going to be presenting that to the executive committee in about a week. So that process went very well, and we'll keep you posted when we have that finally approved. Otherwise, that's my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. One piece of information you need to know: we just signed the lease on Blue Ribbon, the property, for an entity to use that as a training facility and stalls. So we'll have a press release. Mike will issue that probably tomorrow on the relevant information for you. But I wanted you to, they actually took possession, I think, yesterday, so I didn't want you to hear that before, something about that before actually you heard it today. So.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Stewart? Ms. Fishing-Hall?
Yeah, sir, I asked for a list of all the churro vendors and the non-churro vendors that work on the Ramona property, because that's the piece that Bill John put forward that we wanted to do with the 100% churro vendor.
Okay.
And that's that thing.
That's very high, by the way. That percentage is It's almost 100%. I mean, we
Okay, the
did,
red ones are the non-tariff vendors on that list.
the red, or the red are
Non-tariff.
non-tariff.
And the black are tariff.
Right, okay.
And I'm seeing 13 out of 27 was tariff.
I think if you look at the number of dollars that were spent, the dollars spent were significantly higher than this percentage. Because some of these expenses are really places where we don't have a tariff vendor in place, like maybe a restaurant or a gaming company. I see here Granger Tools. You know, some of those would typically not be vendor. Those are just retail type purchases. I can get into this a little more on the dollars, but I think the dollars are higher. So why don't I get back with you and just give you an idea of why these vendors were selected and then the dollars that were spent.
Could you please,
Okay.
because I was looking at like flooring innovations. I know we got tariff flooring and portable buildings.
Well, in each case,
So could
we
you-
bid those out, and if the taro bid was not low or we didn't feel like, you know, it was the lowest price, then we didn't take it.
Okay.
So that, you know, we tried to get competitive bids, and so, but I'll go and get those details and let you know in each case what happened.
Thank you.
Councilor Buzzer.
Yeah, David, the new building that you purchased, what all departments are you going to be moving over there?
We're going to move our smaller companies, so ITX and the IT companies. There's about 3 or 4 companies that will move there. I think our cultural tourism department will move there. I believe the security company will be there. Those 4, and then we'll have common areas of use like conference rooms, copiers. We're trying to do it where we don't duplicate costs with all these different companies. So those smaller companies will be there, and then I think from a departmental standpoint, cultural tourism will be there.
Is CNI, are they going to stay at the same location there on 69?
Yes, and we're looking at the amount of space that we have for them. If we have space, then we will move them as well.
Thanks. Thank you.
Councilor Garvin.
David, what kind of business was in this building before we bought it? What do they used to do?
You know, I have no idea. I think it's just a general office. Part of it has not been finished out, so it may be some warehouse space. I think each end of it has been offices, and it's already built out that way. But the middle sections that we're going to use have not been built out yet, which is one of the reasons we liked it, because we could go in and, you know, build it the way we wanted
Is
it.
it inside the boundary of Cherokee Mission?
Yes, sir.
Inside?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Ingram.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm certainly glad we got it back in the jurisdiction of the Cherokee Nation also. Are you going to vacate the Fleming building then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all together?
I'm not going to say altogether, but it will be substantially vacated.
It should accommodate everybody that's in the Fleming building?
Yes.
That's all, thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to offset the rent that we're paying now to pay ourselves, so, you know, financially, it's a good decision for us.
Any other questions for Mr. Stewart?
Okay.
Sorry, Vice David. Oh, excuse
I'm
me.
sorry, I do have one more question. David, would you just email us the cost of that building, if possible?
Yes. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next is Career Services, Diane Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. You have my report. I guess I'll just open it up for questions.
Are there any questions for Diane? Councilor Fisherman.
Earlier today, and I don't know if you've seen our streaming video, we was talking about a contract that we had made with a new person hired as an investigator for Marshal Service. Would you please check and see if that contract met the minimum tariff requirements? I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Hoskins.
Diane, about the day work program, I'm wondering whether if we have a community organization that has the capacity to put people to work, could day work people work there?
The only way that we can do anything with day work is if it's a project that the Cherokee Nation is actually engaged or working on, then we would actually have to have someone actually be out there on site with them.
Is that because we need to have a supervisor of the
Yes.
Cherokee Nation on
Yes.
site?
Yes.
No wiggle room on that, I suppose.
Not really. Now, there have been a couple of projects that we've done with CAUTA, the tribal lands. I mean, we've done some projects, but there's been a supervisor there on site.
The Cherokee Nation
Yes,
supervisor.
yes.
I mean, I'm just wondering if we have these community organizations that might have a work day and there's legitimate work to be done, and they sort of can set forth the scope of the work, and you can identify whether that work was accomplished.
I can't even use
Shaking your
a
head the wrong
program
way.
participant out there as a supervisor. It has to be someone physically from the Cherokee Nation
Is that in
if
the
it's a project.
Is that in the policy?
It's from an insurance standpoint.
So what's from an insurance standpoint?
Well, I can't just send these people out to locations where there is not insurance coverage on them. And that's a program that's operated internally by the nation.
If
It's not a
Cherokee
federal
Nation
program.
owns the building, would we not insure that?
Yes, but I'd still have to have a supervisor. And I don't have the funds in my program to do that. I'd have to look at other programs if they're going to be out there working in that for a day or two or whatever. Yeah, they got to have workers' comp.
They have to have workers' comp?
Yeah, we've had to take some of them to the hospital. One got
They
snake
have to
bit,
have a
one got
workers'
cut.
comp policy in order for a person that's employed temporarily by the Cherokee Nation to perform work? In our policy?
It's our policy. That's why all the people that are working for us are covered through the Cherokee Nation.
Right, but our policy would follow them to a work site.
Yes, but I'd still have to have the supervisor from the Cherokee Nation there on the
That's the real
site.
sticking point, the
Yeah.
supervisor. We can get around the workers' comp issue.
Yes, but I'd still have to have the supervisor. That's the problem. And a lot of these locations, they're wanting workers at courthouses, they're wanting them in a lot of places, but I'd have to have someone from Cherokee Nation there on the site with them.
I can't figure out a way around that.
You're trying.
Right.
Now,
Because the idea is,
we place work experience, because those are federal programs, we place them out there on job sites right now with schools and with counties and so on and so forth. But we don't do that with this particular program because it's a one day, sometimes it's one day,
Sure.
some days it's 2 days or whatever.
certain parts of Cherokee Nation, the opportunities are, I'm trying to kind of see if we can expand those opportunities, but I understand there may be some reasons we can't do it.
If the Community Development Department or CAUTA or some of these people are working in a specific community and they're doing it for like a day or two and they request workers through us, then we can assign workers to them. We're doing that right now with tribal lands. We're doing it with the Heritage Center. We're doing it at different places. They'll request specific workers, but they have people out there on site for ever how many people we send out there.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Buster.
Diane, this $850,000 grant that Kim got, how
Yes.
are you going to implement that as for on-the-job training? You said displaced workers. Is it going to be also available for people that's looking for jobs?
Well, we have been on conference calls with the feds every week since we were told we were getting it. We've been on conference calls every week with the state. We've been on webinars every week. In fact, yesterday I told them, I said, I don't know how you expect us to get this grant completed by this Friday for the draft if we have to have a conference call every day this week. And what they're doing is this money came through the Obama administration and it was our monies, but it's an emergency grant and you can use it up to 2 years or you can spend it your first year. And a lot of these states that went after it, some of them haven't been doing OJT for many, many years, and a lot of them are not clear on how to do it. And even the state of Oklahoma wasn't sure, and they asked to have a meeting with us, and they've even asked to get our contract. And we've basically been providing technical assistance for some of them over the telephone. We have to go to Washington, I think week after next, to explain how we're going to partner with the state. We did find out that it is open to anybody that walks in the door. It is not just Native Americans. It was a competitive grant, and we have to open it up to anybody, but one of the things we have to do is partner with the state, because anybody that's been laid off are the prime candidates for this particular grant.
So would we be able to set up a training program, would the Cherokee Nation be able to set up a training program? And what I'm referring back to is the old heavy equipment school that they used to operate, OJT?
No, this is on-the-job training. This is with businesses that's going to pay for half their wages. It's not classroom training.
So,
But we are going after classroom training and OJT grant that's due week after next that Kim's
so if the
working on
Cherokee
the bill.
Nation had a business, then they could do that, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But they would have to hire anybody that's been laid off, because that was the intent of the program. But we'll know more after we go to Washington in a couple of
I think
weeks.
it's a good program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Jordan?
Diane, this goes to the consent items, and it's on the Terrell list.
Yes.
I'm just trying to make sure, this Cherokee Nation Waste Management LLC, that's us, right? That's our landfill?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you in Taro now?
I'm in Terrell now.
Okay.
I completely changed gears from what she's talking about. That's in something else. And it's on page 1 of the consent items. It's probably on that very front page there that you got your fingers on, at the bottom, second to last. It says new businesses recommended for approval.
Yeah.
Approval 17, and then it's got,
Cherokee Nation Waste Management LLC.
Yeah.
That's the landfill.
that's the landfill.
Yes.
Why does it have a Fort Gibson address?
I would assume that's probably where they get their billing. That's where their corporate headquarters is.
The corporate headquarters for the landfill?
Their bookkeeper may be out of Fort Gibson. I don't know. The addresses on all of these would be wherever they're getting their billing. Wouldn't necessarily be where their business is. Some of them are not.
I would have thought, since they had an office down at Stillwell, that everything was coming to their office there.
Well,
I
if I'm not
think,
mistaken,
Don,
I
if I
believe their
remember reading-
bookkeeper does live in
Excuse
Fort
me.
Gibson.
Will you yield to
Yes, I will.
Harley?
If I remember reading that report, it was Doug Bain is starting this company, and he lives in Fort Gibson.
Okay, so is the information coming to Doug Bain, or?
Well, according to this report, that isn't,
That's the name of the company.
it's 100% Cherokee. Is this Doug Bain's company?
The bookkeeper, Sherry, she lives in Fort
No,
Gibson.
this is our landfill.
Right. Well, I know that's what they're saying, but I just wanted to be sure that wasn't.
See, that was a question that I originally had, and I asked somebody else, I said, is it the landfill, or is Doug starting a company, or is Doug
No,
got a
it's the
company? or-
landfill, but their bookkeeper, Sherry, lives in Fort Gibson. So I'm assuming that she's having that sent there.
Okay,
what I'm
okay, so,
assuming.
but this is the landfill
Yes, it is.
that's located in Adair County?
Yes, it is.
And then I just needed to make sure I understood that we weren't, Taro certifying a competing company?
No.
Councilor Buster.
And the reason I say that, if you look at the bottom, it says Skill Refuge Collection, and our landfill office is down here in Tahlequah. That's where our director of the landfill is. Isn't that right, Curtis? Mr.
You want to respond?
Lay.
So the office is located at
I
Tahlequah?
get an office downtown.
Okay. Where at
So,
downtown?
John.
If I could.
Doug Bain is listed as the contact. The information that we need is where we were asking for any documentation is the Fort Gibson P.O. Box address. Because we're going to be asking if we need any financial documents when we're going through the process, that they give us this one so we can talk to their accountant. That's the information that we need. This is the landfill. And I don't think they're going to, they're looking at doing some different things instead of just the landfill to do to different types of collections and different things like that. So.
Okay. Councilor Baker.
And I was confused myself. I mean, like Redstone is owned by Eastern Shawnee Tribe, and I think the landfill is owned by the Cherokee Nation.
Correct, it is.
And I just, the difference in, I mean, it looks like Doug Bain owns it, but.
I apologize, we just put the contact information for Doug Payne, and that's who we contact.
Okay.
Doug Payne does not own it. Councilor Jordan.
And I guess I need to direct this question to Harlan. Where is their office located in Tahlequah?
I don't know, Curtis may know the address, I'm not sure where it is.
I don't know the address. Bill Way. Bill Way
Is there
is their
new CEO?
new CEO.
Kelly, that's what's that.
I'm sorry, I don't know what the street address is, but it's you know that building where Cowboy Rose is? You turn just before you get to Cowboy Rose, and then it's almost an alley, but you go in and you're really coming in to the back side of that same building that the flower shop's in.
Okay, I know where it's located.
Yeah.
It's on that second floor.
Yes.
Of that commercial building.
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't know where we were talking about.
Thanks, Carol.
And that's all I had. Thank
Do
you
you
all.
have anything else, Ms. Kelly?
No, but the summer programs are over with. I will tell you that. And if you're getting calls, we still have people that are on ARA that go up through September 30th. We have some that will go over into February, and then we have some that end tomorrow. So if anybody calls you, we have employees that we hire temporary every summer, and they will be going off tomorrow. And in some years, we've kept them on an extra week. Sometimes we've kept them on an extra 2 weeks. Some years, we've kept them on 4 weeks. It just depends. But this year, they're going off tomorrow. So I'm just letting you know.
Okay. Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
Commerce, Ananias.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You have a copy of my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Anna? Ms. Jordan.
Hannah, who's the group that reviews when you have to turn down the mortgage assistance? What's the name of the folks that do that review?
Norma Merriman heads up that group, and I'm not sure exactly who all is on the
her
team.
department? And is that kind of how we have it set up in our policy? Is that?
That it goes to an interdisciplinary team to review it. And they do typically interviews with the people. They ask for additional information.
And kind of what are they looking for? I understand what we're doing is if we have to turn somebody down per policy because of pending or criminal background. I guess I'm trying to get a handle on how does that affect the need to house their family.
What they're looking for basically is whether or not the person is a danger to other people.
But, I mean, okay, let's say we think it's a crime that constitutes them being a danger to other people. Don't they still need housing for their family? Because isn't it their family that we're primarily trying to take care of, their kids, their spouse? I'm just trying to get a handle on why we turn them down for housing when what we're doing is trying to provide housing for their families. It's almost like we're punishing their kids and their spouse because they've made a mistake in their past.
And that's part of what Norma and her group do when they interview them, is try to determine if they're rehabilitated or if they actually are a danger to other people. And they also look at rental assistance and cluster type housing differently than MAP, because they don't want to put them in an apartment building or in a cluster type housing.
So if we're looking at them being a danger to others and they're trying to buy a house or build a house for their family out in the country away from everybody else, do we look at that?
She should be looking at that, yes.
And I guess that's been we've got an issue, and I think you know which one it is. And I happen to know where this house is at, and it's out in the country by itself, built to house a family, and he's got kids and a wife, and These are not even convictions. These are pending and they're misdemeanor. And it just seems like we're missing something here. The whole idea is to use that money to house the Indian family, and we basically, unless he resolves the charges, we're not going to look at him again. And he has some real legitimate reasons why he don't just fall on the sword and say, I'm guilty. But we're basically saying, but we're not going to give you any money until you're found guilty, and then we'll look at it again.
Right.
Or you're found innocent, and we'll look at it again. I'm getting real concerned that maybe we're losing track of what we're trying to do with our program, which, and it's no reflection on you. I think you're hand-tied with policies that I know you're interpreting the best you can, but I basically want to know what we can do, because the criminal system does not lend itself to being a quick system. If you need a trial on something, you're 3 or 4 years down the line before you get it. And that's just because of the way the criminal system is set up. And he's sitting here with a misdemeanor charge, and he's trying to close on a house that we let him get this far, up to the door of closing, and we say, oh, we did a criminal check on you, and you got a pending misdemeanor. You got to get that resolved, or you got to get something done before we're going to look at giving you your down payment money. And he can't lock in a interest rate. He's on a construction loan. This seems like we're working against what we're trying to accomplish by giving this money. He did everything, went to the classes, got the house built. He's ready to close his permanent loan. He's got 2 kids and a wife. He's got to get moved in there, and has this misdemeanor.
Could you discuss this with her
Well,
after the meeting?
I think it goes to this body needs to consider whether we want to hamstring these departments with the type of policies that we're asking them to enforce. That's why I'm bringing it out to the whole committee. I know that others in this room have had the same problem.
Okay, well, can
Or
you
similar
wrap it up,
problems.
please?
Well, I think it goes to, Anna, do you need some assistance in us helping you with those policies so that they're a little bit more flexible?
I think that there is flexibility built in the policy, and for this particular instance, it would probably be best if you visit with Norma about the specifics surrounding this particular case, because the way we've made them more flexible than they were when they were at the Housing Authority, because we've created this team that consists a lot of social workers that actually interview the people to determine if they've been rehabilitated, whereas before they were just denied automatically, and we didn't have anyone interview them or look deeper into the case.
And also I want Todd to enlighten us a little bit on the subject. I just want to know if we can help, because it seems to me like we're working against what we're trying to achieve.
One thing that I would recommend is to get a copy of the policies. Although policies are what they are, the legislature always has the right to pass laws that would override policies. And one thing that we may do is just, as a group, is get a copy of those policies and review them. But also, one thing I wanted to say is that I would probably wrap up the discussion, because I don't want to get these situations
I'm
so.
not using names.
Oh, that's right.
Names.
But we don't even want to get even, to the point where someone can be figured out, to be honest. So that's the one.
I would ask then that the 2 of you all get together and let's take a look at the policies to see if we can resolve. I mean, we're running into this more and more, and we need to help you if we can.
Okay.
So that it would be a little bit easier for you to accomplish your objective.
Okay. Sure will.
Councilor Hoskins.
Just briefly, and just to add to that, I'd kind of like to see sort of some numbers or an analysis of the number of times that somebody's been denied in the first instance because of a criminal background, and then whether the interdisciplinary panel, if that's the right word, has reversed it. I kind of share the same sense that Councilor Jordan does, and who are we really punishing here? But I'd like to see kind of those numbers in addition to seeing the policy, so we can see what has actually been happening.
Okay, we can do that.
Councilor Buzzer.
And I'm not sure this question would go to you, but maybe Diana, but on a tarot collection fees, I don't think I recall seeing a report from that and to how those dollars are being spent, because budget hearings is coming up in the next 30 to 60 days. And I'd like to see, do you report that any day? Do you see those dollars from our collections of tarot fees?
It's in there.
It's in there,
It'll be
okay.
on that tarot budget, under the actual side of revenue.
There, if I may, there's a separate accounting unit where all of those fees are collected, and at the end of the year, it's anything that's left, it's a reserve fund balance. It can only be spent according to the Tarot Act.
And I have a follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. Would it be possible, and I don't know if I need to address this to you, Anna, or Diana, or Diane, but to take a look and see, I'd like to know where we're spending those dollars on. Can we just have a report of where they're going?
I can provide that for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Baker.
Yeah, this is more a statement and not even about that particular program, but, you know, the policies is a moving target, folks. And I don't know how many are aware of it. I want to bring it to your attention, and we'll discuss it and I guess resources. But we just had a policy change over at Water and Sanitation that if your well goes out, always before, we would send somebody out, we would pull it, we would fix it, and going down the road, and we've done it for years that way. Well, the new policy is we'll go out, we'll pull the well, we'll look at it, we'll tell you need to buy a pump, you need to buy wire, you need to buy this, you need to buy that, and when you get it, then we'll come back and put it in. Complete different than what the policy has been operating. And, you know, the first one that got told that was, you know, totally flabbergasted. And, you know, we could have a 80-year-old woman on $556 a month come out, and we're going to tell her, well, you're out of water until we come back and you buy the parts. That has never been the policy. It has always been the policy that if the well goes out, because we'll spend $15,000 drilling a family a well, and keeping a well going that they had was always very cost efficient, and a new pump would last another 8 or 10 years, and so we've always done that. But I seriously doubt that a single soul in here heard anything about that policy change, and we really need to talk about it and visit about it and try to do something in the next meeting. But anyway, thank you.
Are there any questions for Anna? Mr. Thornton.
Don't have a question, have a statement. Anna, here about a year ago, we had an individual that was married, and you all had turned him down for a loan, and he went back and reconsidered it. It was one of these type of deals, and they ended up getting help, and I appreciate that. I won't mention any names here.
Very good. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Next is the Cherokee National Historical Society, Mr. Kelly.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Appreciate y'all giving me a chance to talk to you. Things are going pretty good over at the Heritage Center. I will say one thing I'm really excited about is that our on-site visitation is way up this year. We are up 18% over last year, and last year was up 20% from 2006. So we've been steadily growing, and then this year we've just been swamped with people, and it's good to walk around and have a little trouble struggling to get your way through an exhibit or see all these groups coming out of the village. It's real exciting. I will say that it's a very tough climate in fundraising, has been since 2008 in the United States. At the end of 2009, we were still going up, and we've been up by about 22% over where we were in 2006. So it's been climbing, but we're starting to feel the pinch a little bit right now. I'm hoping that it's just more of a matter of timing. We do know we have some large pledges that haven't come in yet, and some grant awards that will come in. So I think that during the back half of the year we'll make up the deficit from last year. But we are starting to feel it's getting a little tougher to raise money. out there now. Corporations just don't have as much. Foundations aren't giving as much. But we are excited. Our honoring dinner is in the back half of the year instead of the front half of the year. We do expect to have another great success in 2010, and I hope all of y'all can participate in that. That's coming up in October. But we do have some challenges and in front of our development department in the last half of the year. But I am confident that we have a plan in place that will get us up to at least where we need to be to cover our budget. So real excited about that. Real excited about just the work my staff has been doing out there. I want to commend them, especially the work in the village is looking great. And then the tough work that always goes on behind the scenes in archives and collections. They have some unique challenges there, and Michael Yance and Tom Mooney and Mary Crawford now is working with us. They do a stellar job of stepping up and taking care of these things that are so important. So with that, I think that y'all have a copy of my report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Tiller? Mr. Baker? All the lights functioning?
We have called them. You were out there Sunday. Were they working? Not yet. Okay, we'd actually called them several months ago when you first reported that, so I apologize, and I will stay on them about that. So.
Yes, Ms. Coates.
My brother and I were two of the on-site visitors yesterday, and I just wanted to compliment you because it's probably been a decade, literally, since I've been through the village, and our guide was a young woman named Danae, and she was absolutely fantastic. She was excellent. Many of the presenters, Tim Grayson and Tommy Wildcat in particular, came and spoke to us, and it was really wonderful. And I think that the interpretation that you're doing in the museum is really, really good on this exhibit as well. So I just wanted to compliment you on all of that.
Thank you. I am very blessed to have the staff that I have now. I think they do an excellent job out there. So thank you. It's good to hear that.
Any other questions for Mr. Tiller? Thanks very much. Next is Cherokee Nation Education Corporation, Kimberly Gilloway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I believe you have my report in front of you. We do have a couple of highlights I'd like to point out. We did receive the final balance of the Redis estate, which
and
will...
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's been a long process, so we're very excited. We did award our 2010-2011 scholarships this year. We were able to give away $90,000 in private donor scholarships. And we are ahead of schedule on all of our in-house projects. Our online dictionary the beta version is already online, and the full version will be launched at National Holiday.
Very good. This is Ms. Coates.
I also want to thank Connect for the recent scholarships for the Summer Abroad in the Cherokee Nation program that enabled seven
Cherokee Nation citizens were able to attend. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Kim? Appreciate all your good work.
Thank you.
Next are consent items. First is the Terrell certifications. I would entertain a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on it? I know we discussed the one already. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is the cemetery restoration assistance applications, and those were passed out, or actually were placed in your box earlier today. A new one. Doug, go ahead.
In addition to the three that was previously in your packet, there's a cemetery in Sequoia, Cherokee, and Delaware County, Fleetwood, Boonot, Round Springs.
Which goes along with the three, the Keg Cemetery in Delaware County, Keller Cemetery in Adair County, and the Salina Fire Department in the town of Salina for Meigs County.
Mr. Chairman, I move that all six of them be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Okay. Next are the law enforcement requests. That was also been passed out.
There was, and I just got word from Councilor Hoskin, there's one addition to the one item. The town of South Coffeyville, 1,700 for rifles was added after the packet, but there's one additional. City of Benita Police Department, 4,500 also for equipment. Mr. Hoskin's the only one that has any law enforcement balance, and he has about a little over 4,200.
Do we hear a motion for their approval?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposition.
I can't vote for rifles.
Okay.
All right.
Next are the roads.
Okay,
Those are in the back of the consent.
and there are no changes to that, Mr. Chairman. We still just have the Coffee Road, Mr. Garvin, that will deplete your vehicle tax fund, and Mr. Hoskin has about $3,000 for a Stomp Ground Low Water Bridge project.
Move for the approval.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Next is old business. We have the discussion on the status of the fiscal 2010 council initiatives. I believe it said we wanted this on for this one more month, which is this month.
Good afternoon.
Tyler.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce myself to the council for those who have not met me. My name is Tyler Corey. I've been on staff with the Washington office for about the past 2 years now, and I'm standing in for Ms. Ragsdale today. She's currently staffing the chief at the signing of the tribal law and order bill. So if Mr. Chairman's permission, I'll address the status report on the council initiative.
Okay.
We've currently identified the 14 elderly nutrition sites within territorial jurisdiction, and we are currently processing the distribution for those sites. In regards to the food pantry line item, we have sent out 59 surveys to food pantries within territorial jurisdiction, and the deadline for response on those is the end of this month, so it should be in just the next few days. We've received 19 back, and once we've reached the deadline, we'll go ahead and distribute or work on processing the distribution of those. And once we receive those, we will also be in contact with community development to identify community organizations to distribute the funds as well. That's all that I have. I'd be happy to take any questions that council has for me.
Are there any questions? Councilor Sullivan.
I was just thinking that Councilor Hoskin was outside and he had a lot of need for input in here, so just thinking maybe somebody might need to holler at him real quick. Thank you, Cherokee.
So you've done the 14?
We're currently processing the 14.
Okay. For the elderly, so that's 28,000, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're looking at you sent out 59 and you got back 19.
We received 19 surveys back of the 59. The deadline's at the end of this month.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I apologize, I was out of the room, but have they addressed the council issue?
Yes, they have.
Do we have an update already?
Yes, they gave the update.
I'm sure it was a good one.
Actually,
if you'd like,
I don't have any questions, just making sure we're on track with.
Yes, sir.
And the community on the community organizations, how many of y'all identified?
We're working with community development to identify those. We're going to work on those once we receive the surveys back as well.
So you sent surveys to food pantries and organizations?
We have not sent any surveys to community organizations. We're going to be working with Mr. Soba, community development folks, to identify those organizations.
And it's my understanding you all's going to take the top 10?
I'd have to defer to Mrs. Ragsdale on that. I can get back to you on that.
When she was in committee last time, she sent out a thing that had the top 10 organizations and the only ones that get money. Then we have like 100 organizations, and they're going to take the top 10. And I don't know what criteria they're using.
So do you want to have her to get back with you on that?
Yeah, because I think we contemplated that we would give them to all the groups. Maybe the dollars don't work out that way, but before checks are cut, I think we'd like to see.
If I may address that, I'm just recently coming into this, but and as my understanding, we haven't capped any limit on how many community organizations that we're going to provide that for. We're going to work with Mr. Soap to identify
Because if you capped it,
those.
I think you'd be doing so contrary to what we said. So before you cap it, I guess you'll come to us and say, can we cap it?
I'll defer to Mrs. Rags on that, but it's just my understanding that we have not capped anything.
Any other questions for Todd? Well, welcome back to the Cherokee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have one other item, if it's appropriate. I understand Mr. Hembry did provide a detailed synopsis of the travel law and order bill. Mrs. Rags wanted me to request that I distribute. We did a one-page synopsis as well to the council.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks very much. Next is new business. Item 1 is our budget mod 10.
Mr. Chairman, Mod 10 is it's a combination of most of Mod 8 along with a few additional items. The grants that are recorded during the month of July have a net reduction of $2 million, but I want to make sure that's clear that that includes the carryover adjustment of Sequoia High School's facility to $3 million, but we did receive new grants of approximately $1 million, with the largest being a substance or a diabetes grant of $205,000 and a new children's health insurance program grant, both from DHS, in the amount of $300,000. A few other carryover adjustments, but the major impact was the Sequoia High School carryover. The mod itself, if you have had an opportunity to look at the memo in the packet, all the red items in color are the items that were submitted in the original Mod 8 that total $17.7 million. Those are the items that before Mod 8 was amended in this committee, with some items that went through the veto process. Now those items are coming back onto the table here, with some of the bigger items being the highway administration dollars of $3.6 million of IRR, as well as $14 million of self-governance health funds, with the Bonita Clinic construction $6 million tribal funded capital, as well as a dental or a health clinic debt service funding of $2.3 million and a Hastings facility improvement of $5.6. I know all these sound familiar. 2 months ago we went through them in detail. In addition to those ones that that we've already looked at a couple months ago, the vocational scholarship is transferring some funds between motor fuels tax and its program funding, as well as you'll see that identified in item 1, and also and 1 and 2. This has no budget impact in net. The DOI funding source is increasing by $680,000 for the IDC shortfall funding of Sequoia High School, that's where they come in and they're able to transfer in funds to accommodate whatever effective IDC rate we're operating at during the year. Then that program has a funded shortfall that comes onto the table. This is recognizing that. The self-governance side of the Department of Interior has an $830,000 increase. Part of that's the transfer out of the $680 I just mentioned over into the actual DOI program, funded program for Sequoia, and then the other $150,000 balance is the Energy and Mineral Development sub-grant to CMB for, I believe that's the second phase of a hydroelectric project feasibility study. IHS Self-Governance Environmental Health has $213,000 increase, which is economic stimulus funding for water and sewer for the Oaks Wastewater Lagoon project. And Department of Ed has $109,000 for voc rehab, has from unexpended prior carryover. That completes Mod 10's review, Mr. Chairman, and I didn't see any technical problems with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to also in this budget mod, there's a need to transfer some dollars out of our Indian housing plan to the 2010. And I would like Kelly or Marvin Jones to come up to explain it because they can do it better than I can. Whichever one wants to do it.
You're welcome.
You've got my back.
Okay.
This request is to put some additional funds out there for mortgage assistance. Partially, I think, because of the tax credits that were available in 2010. They've had a lot of mortgage assistance go out. And to make sure that we don't run short on money before September 30th, there's a lot of clients in the pipeline. We're requesting to pull in $973,887 from the 2010 IHP, which has not been previously budgeted. We're also requesting to increase the 2009 IHP budget for mortgage assistance by $196,113. And this is coming from reprogramming some other budgets within Commerce. Reducing the 2009 IHP IDA admin budget by $115,710, and reducing the IHP MAP administrative budget of $103,075. So we're moving some administrative dollars over to direct services, and then also bringing in the 2010 IHP for a portion of that for MAP.
Well, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the entire budget with those
So moved.
changes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
I have a
Ms.
question.
Jordan.
On the Kelly,
Yes.
on the $973,887 of the 2010 IHP, what line item did we have that in?
It was in mortgage assistance. I mean, it's not previously been budgeted, but the IHP has
We're
been
just
approved.
moving it forward.
We're just pulling it into
Disperse it.
2010.
So all of this is mortgage assistance, it's just been moved, we're just moving it up.
Right, the 973 we're pulling in.
Okay.
The other three we're reprogramming from other existing budgets to put more money into the actual MAP assistance budget.
Okay, and of the other three, what items where were they coming from?
Okay, the 196 is an increase, 196, 113. It's an increase to mortgage assistance, the 15,000 per client. 115,710 is coming out of the 2009 IDA admin budget, which that's a little bit of a misnomer. That is the match budget for the IDA, and with the other budgets that Commerce has, they don't need that money, so it's reprogramming to MAP. And then the third one is reducing the MAP administrative budget, which covers the salaries and all that, by $103,075.
And we're going to roll that all into this year's MAP program.
Right.
To help them finish it out.
Exactly, to
Okay.
make sure that we don't have to turn away a client because we run out of money.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Next, we have item 2, is the donation to the Weber Falls Historical Society.
Before I start, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest we add sponsors, David Thornton, Councilman David Thornton, and Council Lady Janelle Fulbright. And this is a resolution providing for the donation of surplus office equipment from Cherokee Nation to the Weber Falls Historic Society in Weber Falls. Now, this is a real neat museum down at Weber Falls. There's a lot of history. And probably some of you know that U.S. Marshal Frank Eaton used to work there for Judge Parker in the old days. And Frank Eaton was so famous that OSU copied his being as mascot at OSU, and that's where Pistol Pete originated, was down there in Weber Falls. But anyway, We're asking for 2 chairs and 2 filing cabinets, 1 small table, and 1 conference table. So I make a motion that Cherokee donate these surplus items to the Historical Society in Weber Falls.
Mr. Thornton, second. Any discussion? Mr. Baker?
Yeah, and it's a neat museum. I'm not against, donating the surplus stuff, but I am a little concerned when a justice of the Supreme Court writes legislation and authors legislation for this body. I think there's a conflict of interest. I think it's separation of powers. I truly object to that coming forth with Troy Wayne Cote as the author of this legislation.
Yes.
If I could address Councilor Baker's comment. Justice Poteet didn't write that legislation. My assistant did. We pulled up a previous donation resolution. What happened is Justice Poteet asked the warehouse if they had any furniture that could be donated to this organization and what was the process. We acknowledged that yes, there was some surplus furniture in the warehouse and indicated that we had to do a resolution and that a council member needed to sponsor that. And as I understand it, Justice Poteet did ask Councilor Garvin to sponsor it, but my assistant actually drafted that resolution.
Call for question.
We had one, Councilor Jordan first, and then.
I think for clarity reasons, don't we need to put another author on the question? Because as it stands, now that that's been pointed out to me, I could not support this. Kelly, do you want to put somebody else on here as an author?
I apologize. I understand your confusion. I had asked my assistant to do this, and the author would need to be. You can use my name if you would like, because I asked her to pull up a previous resolution where the council had approved donating property, and she just pulled up the previous one and copied it.
So, Mr. Gordon, excuse me, Mr. Garvin, will you?
Yes.
As part of the motion, change the author to Kelly Catcher?
Yes.
And Mr. Thornton?
I just have one question, Kelly. What would be the difference in the administration offering this and the Justice Department offering?
I don't know. We get requests every once in a while for surplus equipment, and I know it's been done in the past. We just gave some neonatal monitors to Claremore Hospital or something. So it's been a fairly common occurrence.
We're all three separation of powers.
Right. Right.
I think in the past we passed legislation that's been offered by the Justice Department, the changes in the Justice Department.
That I don't know.
Anything different.
That would be
but
illegal.
I will accept it if that's what it has to be.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Okay. So the motion's been made and seconded. The author's been changed to Kelly Catcher. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. And are there any announcements? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.